Hey, hello everyone. We should be live on Twitch right now. I'm gonna check and make sure that that's true. Oh look, it does seem to be true. Let me check on my audio, make sure everyone can hear me okay. Or if you're in the chat, feel free to let me know whether you can hear me or not. Okay. Hey, hello everyone. We should be live. Alright, great. I just spooked myself there because I turned on my own audio. Alright, it seems to be working. Apologies if the video quality is a little wonky. Our webcam has been acting up, but I think you will still be able to see what I'm doing here, and that's the main thing. So, my name is Jessie, and I work at the Glencoe Public Library, and welcome to another edition of Self-Care Sunday. So today, as you might or might not know, we're going to be working with our very first grab-and-go kit for Self-Care Sunday, which I'm very excited about. So if you were able to grab one of our candle making kits from the library, then you already have all the supplies you need to do this. If not, I don't know if we still have more, we might, but I also outline exactly what it is that you need to make a candle, so if you want to get the supplies on your own, you can do that as well. And this is something I'm hoping to do more of in the future and have more grab-and-go kits, so at least one of our activities, you'll already have all the supplies that you know you need for it. So I'm going to go ahead and get started here, because this video is going to involve a little bit of waiting. So the first thing I want to show you is how I made kind of a DIY double boiler, because I don't own a double boiler, and maybe you do, and if you do own one, great, go ahead and use that for this. But I don't, so what I've done here is I've got, this is just like a big old pasta type of pot, and then there's some water in there. You want a good amount of water, but don't fill it up all the way. I have about like 3 inches in here maybe. And then just take another pan, or I suppose you could even use another pot, that's the same diameter or slightly larger. So this one's slightly larger. I'm going to put it on top here, and then, come on, stove, you can do it. Oof, I did it very dramatically. So then you'll just light that burner underneath, and what'll happen is the water will start to boil in the lower pot, and then that's what's going to heat what's in the upper pot. So, if you have one of our bags here, I'm just going to go over what's in it really quick. We've got a ½ pound approximately of soy candle wax. Each of you I think has 2 candle wicks, because I put 2 in there just in case, I don't know, anything goes wrong with the first one. We've got about ½ ounce of candle scent. I purchased specifically candle scent for this, and you can do that, or you can also use like essential oils and different things, but the ones that are made specifically for candles supposedly work the best, which would make sense. And then you'll also have a jar in your little bag. This is an 8 ounce glass jar. It's heat safe, that's important. And then I think I gave everyone a sticker as well, because these jars came with stickers, so if you want to like label your jar, great. Oh, and a dowel rod as well, like this. So that's what you should have in your kit. And then for things you need at home, obviously double boiler or substitute. I keep calling this a spatula. I don't think it's actually a spatula. It's like, I don't know, one of those things that uses to scrape batter, but you'll need something to stir it with, essentially. It's also super handy if you have a thermometer. I have a little meat thermometer here, but if you have a candy thermometer or any kind of, apparently there's some of those touch, like contactless thermometers that you can point at like water and it will tell you if the water's boiling or things like that. Like, I don't know, if you've got that, make that happen. And then it's not anywhere in the instructions in the packet, but I've got this measuring cup here, glass measuring cup, that I'm gonna use later because I did one test version of this already, and I think that that's going to be helpful in one of the steps of the process. So first thing we're going to do, we're just going to pour all the wax, the whole half pound of soy wax flakes into here. And if you're buying your own ingredients, you can get soy, you can get paraffin, or you can get beeswax, which is a little more expensive but all natural. Soy candles are a little more natural as well. The paraffin wax, I don't know what all's in there. But yeah, basically we're going to wait for all of this to melt, and that's going to take about 10 to 15 minutes, and as fascinating as I'm sure you all would find it to watch wow, oof, that was a tongue twister. Watch wax melt for 10 to 15 minutes. I have devised for us an alternative activity, which is, let me see. I don't have my Kindle. Hold on just a second. Guess what I got to work? I'm very excited. It's this technical difficulties screen. Ta-da! Okay, just a second. Okay, so like I said, this recipe, I don't know, set of instructions for making your own candle can be found in our Self-Care Sunday packet for the week. We always have a packet that goes with our video, and let me grab you the link for that really fast. But I thought to myself, no one's going to want to watch wax melt for 10 to 15 minutes. That's super boring. So what can we do that's a little bit more interesting? And what I came up with, did I not have this packet on my computer? All right, I'll find it. So I've been reading a lot of quote-unquote classic children's literature for my History of Children's Lit class. Mostly just means a lot of older titles, and some of them don't hold up very well. The original Peter Pan, for example, is absolutely wild from start to finish. But one I found that really holds up and that I think is really delightful is the original Winnie the Pooh stories. So those are part of a series, actually, that started with some poetry, including When We Were Very Young and Now We Are Six. Winnie the Pooh appears in those stories, and appears in those books of poetry, rather, and then also starts making appearances in like stories that are just the Winnie the Pooh stories that we know and love. And they're in the public domain, which is great because I can read them on the stream and not run into any copyright issues. But I just found that these stories were so gentle and pleasant. It's been a long time since I've watched or read any Winnie the Pooh of any kind, so it's just kind of a nice enjoyable read. So I thought perhaps I would do a little reading aloud to y'all while we're waiting for this wax to melt. That would work better if I had this link ready, but we're working on it. Okay. Anyone with the link can view. Yes. I'm going to just drop that in the chat, and I'll drop it in the chat periodically, because I know when you join a chat, or when you join a stream partway through, you can't see the previous chats. So if people are joining us partway through, I'll go ahead and just pop that link in there a couple times. It'll also be in the description of the YouTube video if you're watching this later. If you're watching this later, you can also just fast forward this part until where the wax is melted. Why is saying that so hard? Oh my gosh. That's entirely your prerogative. You don't have to listen to me read Winnie the Pooh, but that's what I'm going to do right now. So here we go. Chapter 1, in which we are introduced to Winnie the Pooh and some bees, and the story begins. Here is Edward Bear, coming downstairs now, bump, bump, bump on the back of his head, behind Christopher Robin. It is, as far as he knows, the only way of coming downstairs. But sometimes he feels that there really is another way, if only he could stop bumping for a moment and think of it. And then he feels that perhaps there isn't. Anyhow, here he is at the bottom, and ready to be introduced to you, Winnie the Pooh. When I first heard his name, I said, just as you were going to say, "But I thought he was a boy?" "So did I," said Christopher Robin. "Then you can't call him Winnie?" "I don't." "But you said he's Winnie the Pooh. Don't you know what the means?" "Ah, yes, now I do," I said quickly, "and I hope you do too, because it is all the explanation you're going to get." Sometimes Winnie the Pooh likes a game of some sort when he comes downstairs, and sometimes he likes to sit quietly in front of the fire and listen to a story. This evening, "What about a story?" said Christopher Robin. "What about a story?" I said. "Could you very sweetly tell Winnie the Pooh one?" "I suppose I could," I said. "What sort of stories does he like?" "About himself, because he's that sort of bear." "Oh, I see. So could you very sweetly?" "I'll try," I said. So I tried. All right, and as I'm doing this, I'm going to keep stirring our wax here. It's starting to melt, and you do want to stir it continuously while it's melting, just to make sure it all melts evenly. Okay. Once upon a time, a very long time ago now, about last Friday, Winnie the Pooh lived in a forest all by himself under the name of Sanders. "What does under the name mean?" asked Christopher Robin. "It means he had the name over the door in gold letters and lived under it." Winnie the Pooh wasn't quite sure, said Christopher Robin. "Now I am," said a growly voice. "Then I will go on," said I. One day when he was out walking, he came to an open place in the middle of the forest, and in the middle of this place was a large oak tree, and from the top of the tree there came a loud buzzing noise. Winnie the Pooh sat at the foot of the tree, put his head between his paws, and began to think. First of all, he said to himself, "That buzzing noise means something. You don't get a buzzing noise like that just buzzing and buzzing without its meaning something. If there's a buzzing noise, somebody's making a buzzing noise, and the only reason for making a buzzing noise that I know of is because you're a bee." Then he thought another long time and said, "And the only reason for being a bee that I know of is making honey." And then he got up and said, "And the only reason for making honey is so I can eat it." So he began to climb the tree. He climbed and he climbed and he climbed, and as he climbed, he sang little songs to himself. It went like this. "Isn't it funny how a bear likes honey? Buzz, buzz, buzz. I wonder why he does." Then he climbed a little further, and a little further, and then just a little further. By that time, he had thought of another song. "It's a very funny thought that if bears were bees, they'd build their nests at the bottom of the trees. And that being so, if bees were bears, we shouldn't have to climb up all these stairs." He was getting rather tired by this time, so that is why he sang a complaining song. He was nearly there now, and if he just stood on that branch, crack! "Oh, help!" said Pooh, as he dropped 10 feet on the branch below him. "If only I hadn't," he said, as he bounced 20 feet to the next branch. "You see, what I meant to do," he explained, as he turned head over heels and crashed onto another branch 30 feet below. "What I meant to do. Of course it was rather," he admitted, as he slithered very quickly through the next 6 branches. "It all comes, I suppose," he decided, as he said goodbye to the last branch, spun round 3 times, and flew gracefully into a gorse bush. "It all comes of liking honey so much. Oh, help!" He crawled out of the gorse bush, brushed the prickles from his nose, and began to think again. And the first person he thought of was Christopher Robin. "Was that me?" said Christopher Robin in an odd voice, hardly daring to believe it. "That was you." Christopher Robin said nothing, but his eyes got larger and larger, and his face got pinker and pinker. So Winnie the Pooh went round to his friend Christopher Robin, who lived behind a green door in another part of the forest. "Good morning, Christopher Robin," he said. "Good morning, Winnie the Pooh," said you. "I wonder if you've got such a thing as a balloon about you." "A balloon?" "Yes, I just said to myself coming along, I wonder if Christopher Robin has such a thing as a balloon about him. I just said it to myself, thinking of balloons and wondering." "What do you want a balloon for?" you said. Winnie the Pooh looked round to see that nobody was listening, put his paw to his mouth, and said in a deep whisper, "Honey." "But you don't get honey with balloons." "I do," said Pooh. Now I'm going to interrupt myself here because our wax has started to melt, obviously. It's getting pretty close to being done here. Whoop. And that was the sound of me dropping the lid of this jar on the floor. So there's two ways to attach your candle wick. One is you can just use super glue if you have it. If that seems easier to you, go ahead and use super glue. But the other way is you can just dip the end of your wick into the wax here, and then you can use the wax to stick it to the bottom of your jar. And it's going to take a little bit of finagling to get it center, which is where you want it. Here, I'm going to try some more wax. Again, you can also stick some super glue to the bottom of your wick and call it a day, but that's how my wick is going to be for now. We'll do some more work to make sure the wick gets right where we need it later. So, I don't think we're going to have time to finish Winnie the Pooh, which is unfortunate, but it is available at the library if you want to read it, or it's also available as an audio book on Overdrive if you want to listen to it. And again, it's in the public domain, so you can also just Google it, but I really think it's worth seeing the illustrations if you can. Okay, so now I'm going to take my ½ ounce of candle scent, and I just totally knocked my wick off center. That's okay. Everyone who got a packet from the library, a kit from the library, you're going to have an apple scent. I decided to go with a nice fall scent, and what we're going to do is we're just going to pour that into our melted wax, and then stir it for about 30 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. All right. So now our wax and our scent should be all nice and mixed together. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to get out my thermometer and okay. So the wax should be between 160 and 170 degrees. Now, if it gets hotter than that, all you want to do is take it off the heat. So if you're doing what I'm doing, that means just take this top pan off of the bottom pan so it can cool off a little bit, or if you have a double boiler, I don't know, just turn the flame off, I guess. I don't really know how a double boiler works, I'm going to be 100% honest here, like an actual one. Okay, we're climbing up 162, 163, but it doesn't seem like it's going to go too far past that. Alright, 163, perfect. So, here is the part where I think having a measuring cup or similar is going to be helpful, because the next thing we're going to do is pour the wax. And pouring wax from this big container into this little jar with a little opening is kind of tricky, and I spilled some wax last time. I should also mention my counter is covered in paper towels, which you should do, paper towels or newspaper, so that cleanup is a little bit easier. Alright, so we're going to do our very best here to try to do this kind of neatly with this intermediary step of pouring the wax into the measuring cup. Okay. And then from the measuring cup into the jar. And this should be enough wax to like just about fill up the jar. And you'll want to pour most of the wax, but not all of it. And the reason for that I'm going to explain in a minute, because first I'm going to tell you what's going on with this wick. So as you can see, my wick is now just adrift in this hot candle wax. So what we're going to do is we're going to wait a little bit until the wax cools down to between 130 and 140 degrees. And then what we're going to do is we will take our handy dandy dowel rod here, and we're going to tie the end of the wick to the dowel rod so that it stays centered. Cool, so we're still toasty hot wax because it just came off the stove. Pro tip for cleanup here, hot wax is pretty easy to just wipe up, but obviously be careful not to burn yourself. If the wax does end up drying on a surface, you can scrape it up just with your fingernails pretty easily. But it does help to have that newspaper or paper towels to cover stuff up. I had something else. Oh, right. So the reason we didn't put 100% of the wax into the jar is because after the candle dries for several hours, a lot of times what happens is you get what's called tunneling. So there's kind of like an indent, I'm trying to show with my hands, like an indent like that, in the center of your candle, and you don't want that because it's going to affect the way that the candle burns. It's not going to burn as effectively. And move that and let my boiling water cool down. But yeah, so you'll save a little bit of the wax. It'll harden while the other wax is hardening, and that's totally cool because you can just heat it back up over the stove or in the microwave, and then use the little bit you have left to fix that tunnel and make it nice and flat on the top. Alright, so I'm checking the temperature here. My wax is still too hot. This is a step that I skipped when I did my example one, and I was like, why can't I get the wick to stay where I want it? And it's because I didn't wait for it to cool down like I was supposed to. So this is why it's good to follow instructions. Not always, but when you're doing something you don't know how to do, doing it for the first time, it's good to follow the instructions. But yeah, it's important for the wick to be centered and for it to be straight in order for the candle to burn properly, although I will say my sample one, it was a little bit wiggly, and it seems to be burning just fine. So don't worry too much about getting your wick perfectly straight and perfectly centered. If it's a little bit off, it's fine. If it's a lot off, I don't know, it's still probably fine. I mean, if this is your first time doing this, like, props just for trying something new, honestly. I think as a culture, we have this strange mindset that people should be good at something the very first time that they do it, which just doesn't make sense, because most of the time, the first time you do something, you're terrible at it, and you have to keep doing it a lot of times to get better. Particularly in adulthood, it seems like, I don't know, like, I learned to play the violin as a kid, and it seems like other people my age who didn't learn an instrument as a kid feel like they can never learn because they're just going to be terrible. But, like, of course you're going to be terrible at the beginning. I was terrible when I was 7. I just have a head start on you. Getting a little rambly here, but the point is, don't be afraid to try new things. Don't be afraid to mess up at new things and be terrible at them. I've thought about doing drawing on this Self-Care Sunday stream because drawing can be a great form of self-care, and I'm terrible at it. And part of me is like, oh, that's going to be really embarrassing if you go on this public stream and you don't know how to draw, but, like, also, who cares? You know, we're not making masterpieces here. We are practicing self-care. Okay, my wax is pulling off a little. Okay, I might just not follow my own advice. It's at 150 degrees now. It's supposed to be between 130 and 140 Fahrenheit. I am silly. You're supposed to wait for it to cool to 130 to 140 Fahrenheit before you even pour it in the jar. That probably keeps the wick from flying around and going crazy like it's doing right now. It's fine, everybody. Don't worry about it. So, let's just move on to our next step here, which is going to be securing this wick where we want it So I'm going to try to do this in a way that you can see. I'm going to line my wick up, center the candle here, straight up, and then right here is where I'm going to tie a knot. So I'm going to tie, I have to set this down to do this, so you probably won't be able to see it, but you're just going to tie like a regular old knot with your candle wick around this dowel. And if you don't have a dowel, you can also use like a pen or a pencil, and that will work just fine as well. Okay, so now I've got this funky little like T-shaped thing, and what I'm gonna do, okay, I tied my thing too short. So when I did this the first time, I had to adjust the knot several times, and so you may have to do that as well, to try to get it the right length so that this metal part is on the bottom, but then you can rest the dowel on top of the candle. Okay, still a little too short. I'm gonna lengthen it a little. And again, this does not have to be perfect. It can be approximate, and that's fine. A fun fact about making your own scented candles is it's actually somewhat less expensive than buying them. So, you know, if you're on a budget, like I am, this might be a good option. Or maybe you just want to do it because it's fun, or maybe you decide you hate this and you only want to buy candles from Yankee Candle, and that's fair. If that's a choice you make, I respect it. Okay, I think I'm about where I want to be with this wick. I'll make it a little longer, because now I've made it too short. I've also got a lot of wax on it, so it's very slippery. So yeah, we've got this T-shaped buddy. We're going to drop that. Okay, yeah, that's good. Or it's not. No, that's fine. You know what? It's good. It's good where it is. So I'll show that to the camera here. So first I'm going to dry off my hands because they're very waxy at the moment. And I can't pick up the jar. Okay. So here we go. We've got, you can see the round part is at the bottom in the center, and the wick is being held upright and fairly straight by this dowel rod. So now comes the easiest part. You just leave it. You just leave it for a couple hours. Wait for it to dry. Like I said, if you get any of that tunneling, you can just reheat the extra leftover wax that you have, and just pour that in the middle to fix that tunnel. So, oh, and then the last step that I forgot to mention is once you're done, you'll want to cut your wick. So you'll notice the wicks that you have are a lot longer than seems reasonable for the jar, and that's true. When you're done, you want to cut it to just about 1/4 of an inch long, or just like, it's like that big, like how you've seen wicks on candles before, because if it's too long, it's just going to burn the wick without burning the candle, which is not what you want. So, yeah, that is how you make your very own scented candle. I have been burning the other one that I made as a practice one, and it smells really wonderful. So now I'm going to put up our technical difficulties screen again, even though we're not having technical difficulties, because I have to move my computer for the next part of the stream, so hold tight. Okay, here we go. Let's adjust that camera angle. My webcam is not happy with me. Sorry. Ah. Listen, buddy. See, this is really when we need the technical difficulties screen, but the problem is I have to be able to see what I'm doing. Please stop falling down. Okay. Okay, I think it's good. Just don't. Nobody breathe too hard. Okay, so our next activity here. Maybe I should put this like over my laptop. Maybe. All right. Anyway, our next activity here. Before we do that, I'm gonna put the link in the chat one more time. There we go. So the next thing we're going to do is something called progressive muscle relaxation. You might have done it before, you might have heard of it before, and you might not have. But I joke with people sometimes. I do a lot of meditation from different apps, and a lot of times they'll have themes for the meditation. So meditations for anxiety, or meditations for unwinding at the end of a long day, or meditation for gratitude, or whatever. And a lot of the time it feels like the actual task that you do to go with the theme is just progressive muscle relaxation. I'm like, I just have 50 different versions of progressive muscle relaxation, which honestly is fine. Like, I'm not mad about it. I just think it's kind of funny how common that is with all these different themes. But this is a technique that I use a lot. It's a particular favorite for me before bedtime because it's a great way to relax before going to sleep. I'll just do it in my bed, but you can do it anytime that you need a little grounding, a little centering. So essentially, this exercise is tensing and releasing your muscles in accordance with your breath. So you'll breathe in, you'll tense a specific muscle group, and then you'll let it out and just relax all the muscles. And this actually relaxes your muscles more than if you were to just like, there's another technique that comes up a lot in meditation called a body scan, which is where you just focus on different parts of your body and on relaxing them, and that's great. But for whatever reason, tensing your muscles before you relax them helps you get all that tension out. And it's pretty great. So I'm going to go ahead and guide you through this one. So the first muscle we're going to do is your hands, and in your packet it has all of this information, so don't worry about trying to remember all of it. It's written down for you, and you can find tons of audio recordings from meditation apps, from YouTube, from wherever, that will guide you through this, but right now I'm going to guide you through it. So first we're going to start with our hands. So to tense your hands, just clench them into fists. Take a deep breath in, hold it for a moment, and let it out, and release your hands. Next, we're going to do wrists and forearms. So for this one, you're going to kind of interlace your hands like this. You're going to reach them all the way up over your head, and you're just going to breathe in, hold it, and breathe out and release. Good. Then for your biceps and your upper arms, we're going to make fists again, and this time we're going to do a nice bicep flex. I know you can't see me doing it, but we're going to do a nice bicep flex with both biceps. Breathe in, and breathe out and release. Next one's one of my favorites, shoulders. You're going to just shrug them all the way up towards your ears on an inhale, and exhale, release. Okay, then for your forehead, you're going to kind of crinkle it up by sort of, I don't know how to describe it very well, but crinkle up your forehead as best you can. Breathe in, and breathe out, and release. Then for around your eyes and the bridge of your nose, we're going to clench our eyeballs shut as tight as we can. Ready? Breathe in, and breathe out and release. Then cheeks and jaws, we're going to smile big and wide. Ready? Breathe in, and exhale, breathe out, and release. For the back of the neck, so you can do this exercise, I should have mentioned, in a chair or lying down on the floor, but you'll press the back of your neck against the floor or against the back of your chair. Breathing in and breathing out. Let that go. For the front of your neck, you're going to touch your chin to your chest. Breathe in and out, and let that go. So for your chest, you're just going to take a deep breath and hold it for 4 to 10 seconds. So go ahead and breathe in. And out. My cat Reggie is here. He would like me to pay attention to him. And Reggie, I promise you I will when we're done with our self-care Sunday, because petting cats or dogs or whatever creature you might have in your home can be a really great form of self-care. All right, so for your back, you're going to arch your back up and away from the floor or chair. Breathe in and exhale, release. For your stomach, you're just going to suck it in real tight. Ready? Breathe in and out. Let it go. Okay, for the hips and buttocks, as our University of Michigan guide calls them, you're just gonna press your butt together, the muscles of your butt together real tight. Ready? Inhale. And exhale. Let that go. Your thighs, you're just gonna clench them together really tightly. Breathe in. And breathe out. Don't do anything that causes you pain. You know, we're clenching a lot of things tightly, but if it hurts, you can clench a little less tightly or just release right away. All right, so for your lower legs, you're going to point your toes towards your face, then point your toes away, curl down. That's going to tense your calves and your toes at the same time. So breathe in and breathe out, release. All right, so that is a progressive muscle relaxation, one form of it. You can do different versions of this with, again, different guided audio. You can do it on your own and just kind of go through your body parts either from head to toe or from toe to head. Or this one I thought was kind of interesting because it starts with the hands and arms, then goes up to the face, and then down. But just make sure there's some kind of order to it. That's why it's called progressive muscle relaxation. All right, so hopefully now, after doing that, you're feeling a little good, you're feeling a little relaxed. I know I am. So the last thing in your packet is several of these like kind of crazy looking documents. And what these are adult dot to dots. You've heard of adult coloring. There's also adult dot to dots. So if you think fondly of doing connect the dot puzzles as a kid, I highly recommend this. Even if you don't particularly remember doing that as a kid, it's a fun one to give a shot. So I'm gonna start. Oh man, I gotta find number 1. In case you've never done one of these before, the premise is pretty simple. You're just going to connect the numbers together. So here's 1, and then there's 2, and I'm going to draw a line between 1 and 2, then from 2 to 3, 3 to 4, and so on. And with kids' versions of these, a lot of times your maximum number is like 20. But on this one, it's like 600 because it is the adult version. And then when you're all done, this is going to make a lovely picture. I've already made a mistake, which is why I chose to use a pencil for this activity. Because now I have an eraser. I can erase anything I mess up. I don't understand how to connect those two. Is it like this? Alright. I'm just going to do my best here. So, I was introduced to this concept of like adult dot to dot, and I'm also noticing my print quality here isn't great, so it's a little blurry, which I don't love. So yeah, there's a few of these in your packet that you can print out and use, or, you know, again, this is something that's on the internet. You can just Google adult dot to dot pages, or like advanced dot to dot pages, whatever search term you like that you think will get you these results. And yeah, so anyway, I heard of these when I was in high school. I was in this class. I want to say it was pre-calc, and so it was a mix of juniors and seniors. And I was one of the juniors in the class, and the seniors had to take their exams, like their final exams, earlier than everyone else. And so, like, obviously we couldn't have part of the class take the final and then the other part. So we all just took it early. It was early for me. And then after that we had, like, a bunch of free time in class to just, like, do whatever, because, like, we'd already finished learning everything. And so my teacher gave us all the same dot to dot puzzle. And I think there was a prize for the first person to finish it, but I was not that person. I am not going to lie, I find this somewhat confusing. But, you know, for some people it's probably relaxing. I don't find it unrelaxing. I just can't find the next number. Okay, wait, here we go. We go from 22. Where's 22? Heck. The other crazy thing about this puzzle is I legitimately have no idea what it's going to be when it's done. Because I just downloaded them as is, and it didn't have, like, a finished version of it I could look at anywhere. It was just like, here you go. Puzzle. And I was like, great. Puzzle. Hope it looks like something cool when it's done. But yeah, shout out to my former pre-calc teacher, whose name is now escaping me, for introducing me to this. Okay, it is kind of fun when I'm not annoyed at it. But the great thing about puzzles as a form of self-care is it gives you something to focus on that isn't whatever it is you're worried about, or, you know, whatever might be stressing you. Because you have to put your full attention, or at least the majority of your attention, on completing the puzzle. So it fills up your brain without stressing you out, hopefully. If it does stress you out, if you're like, I find this entire connect the dot puzzle deeply overwhelming, then obviously you don't have to do it. Everything we do on here is just a suggestion. Try to give lots of options. So, okay, 71, 72. See, I'm making progress. Is that 74 or a different 70? Yeah, pro tip, try not to print one that's blurry. This is, I think, one of the ones in the packet, so sorry in advance if it looks terrible when you print it. Some other puzzles that I think are fun to do. There's the traditional jigsaw puzzle, which I feel like is not as popular as it perhaps once was. What's happening here? Did I miss a bunch of the 60s? I don't think I did. Oh, that's 86. Okay. Yeah, the good old-fashioned jigsaw puzzle. That one can be a lot of fun, especially if you do it together with someone, although don't do it together with my fiance because he is freakishly good at jigsaw puzzles, and he finishes the whole thing after I've matched like 4 pieces. Which is fine. We all have our strengths, but I have taken to doing jigsaw puzzles by myself because I want to actually do the puzzle. That's 79? Wait, 76? Yes, okay, so now we're on 80, 81. Great. I really enjoy Sudoku. Not 100% sure how to say that. But they're those number puzzles where you try to fill in all the numbers 1 through 9 in every row and column. Those were super popular for a while. I don't know if they're still as popular. My mom really likes cryptograms, which are, they're puzzles where each letter, like they give you a quote, but then each letter is swapped out for a different letter. So like X stands for E, and you have to figure out what the quote is. You have to solve the puzzle by figuring out which letters like stand for which other letters, which I have never tried as an adult. When I did them as a kid, I always found them difficult, but that was probably because I was doing like adult difficulty puzzles. So yeah, that might be a fun one to give a try, is the cryptogram. You've got your classics like the crossword, word searches. I'm not big on crosswords, but I love a word search. And these are things that you can find online for free, or there are fairly inexpensive puzzle books you can buy from like bookstores and places like that. And yeah, a puzzle can just be a good way to take your mind off of things that aren't the puzzle. I don't know about you folks, but this was a stressful week for me, waiting for election results to come in. It's hard to get your homework done when you're constantly refreshing electoral maps to see if anything has changed. Fortunately, I got the whole class, my entire class, got an extension on a paper that's due this week, that's supposed to be due today, and my professor was like, you know what, it's been a week, have a little extra time, which I really appreciate. So yeah, it's a stressful time for sure, and that's why I'm delighted that our Self-Care Sunday is today. Like, obviously we had the video that was specific to election day, and that was great, but like this was a very unprecedented year for elections. Lots of mail-in ballots because of COVID, and so the counting took much longer than it usually does. So again, we were left waiting for a while, and that can be a very stressful thing, not knowing what's gonna happen. Okay. 138. See, I'm making good progress on this, I feel like. Wait, that's 189. I feel like because these numbers are blurry, I'm kind of just hoping that I'm connecting the right ones, and at the end this might just be like a total disaster and it's not gonna look like anything, and I'll be like, I don't know what this puzzle is supposed to be still. That's 100% possible. But who knows, maybe I'll find out what it is. Maybe it'll be very clear. The one I did in high school, I think, turned out to be a giraffe. Could be wrong. Kind of hope it was a giraffe though, because giraffes are cool. One thing I like about these dot-to-dot puzzles is it makes me think of the night sky. You know, like all the dots, and you connect them to make a picture. Like, that's how constellations are. And constellations are super cool. Perhaps stargazing is a form of self-care for you. I live in a city, so really can't do that because there's too much light pollution, but if you live somewhere where you can go out at night and look at the stars, that can be really fun. And like peaceful in a way, you know, because we're all very small compared to the grand scheme of the universe. And sometimes that can be scary, but I think it can also be comforting, you know? I know, Reggie. I know, you're so sad that Mama is not paying attention to you. I understand. But we're doing Self-Care Sunday right now, buddy. And later, we'll do Playing with Reggie, which is really just an extension of Self-Care Sunday. I know. I think it's funny that he's now made 2 appearances in Self-Care Sunday videos, but he's like the calmer of my 2 cats, or like the more chill, I guess. Like, he likes to come up and like sniff the computer and be like, oh hey, what's going on? Whereas my other cat, Marie, will just like fling herself in front of whatever I'm doing and be like, pay attention to me. So I think it's funny that Reggie is the one who keeps ending up on the stream. Reggie, you knocked down my webcam, goofball. And after we spent all that time adjusting it. No! Oh man. Really nailing it today. Okay. Self-care's not about perfection. Even in your webcam. Okay. Don't knock into that again, sir. He's a good cat who has never done anything wrong. I mean, that's 100% fair. He is a good cat. Isn't that right, Reggie? Do you want to go on camera for our friends? No? Honestly, just looking at pictures of cats and dogs is a form of self-care for me. Reginald! You stop that. Okay, you sit here on the ground. He keeps bumping into the cord is the problem, and then the whole thing comes tumbling down. Tumbling down. It's a very precarious webcam situation I have right now. I was talking about something, but now I don't remember because I'm distracted thinking about my cat. Oh yeah, looking at pictures of animals on the internet can be really great. I, for example, follow a ton of cats, dogs, and other animals on Instagram. Also some, like, farm rescues, which are pretty cool. Because they... Okay, what? I'm seeing where I made an error here. I'm gonna erase it. But those are fun because you can see, like, pigs and horses and chickens and different animals that you don't normally see in, like, people's houses. Follow some animal rescues. Or if you're not on social media, like, you can literally just Google, like, cute dog. And for me, that's, like, an instant mood boost. I'm like, oh, man, look at all these cute dogs. Cute dogs are great. Where is 196? I see 197. Surely it's near there. And yet. Heck. Sorry, I shouldn't swear on the stream. Heck is not a real swear word. Oh wait, that is 196. Okay. But the We Rate Dogs Twitter treats it as I'm enjoying watching him knock the camera down. Laughing is great self-care. You know what? That's true. And that's why a bunch of the videos on the self-care election day playlist that I put together are just funny videos because it can really help to laugh. And everyone has different senses of humor, so I tried to put like a wide variety of things in there. But like whatever it is makes you laugh, like the cold open from The Office where they do parkour makes me laugh every single time, like literally every time. And I've seen it a million times. Yeah, that's a great form of self-care. If you have favorite comedians, watching or rewatching a stand-up special can be good. This poor cat, he just sounds so miserable. And like, he's fine, everyone. Like, we feed him, we give him treats, we play with him. Like, he has a perfectly good cat life. But he just sounds so tragic. Like, my mother has left me alone. She no longer cares for me. It's not true, Reggie. I love you a lot. Because you're a great cat. I think all cats are great, but obviously not everyone shares that opinion, and that's fine. Okay, 204. Where is 205? I am not going to finish this by the end of this stream, by the way. Just also, I've done this much of it, and I still have no idea what this is supposed to be. Wait, maybe it's the Statue of Liberty. Look, okay, now that I'm looking at it, this totally looks like a hand holding a flame, and maybe this is her head? I don't know. That part's not done, clearly, but I could totally see that being it. That'd be cool. I hope that's what it is. But, again, I don't really know. because I still have like 400 more dots to connect. I'm going to end this stream and then just sit and do this for 2 more hours because I want to know what the shape is. If any of you do finish any of the dot to dots that are in the packet, send us a picture, either over social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or send an email to the children's department. Even if you're not a child, we'll get it. I'll get it there. And show us a picture because I want to know what they all look like because I don't know what any of them look like currently. Okay, 207, 208. I think it might be the Statue of Liberty. I don't know. That would be pretty cool, and I feel like sort of thematically appropriate for having just finished up a presidential election. Very Merkin. Where's 209? I'm sure this is thrilling content for you. Me sitting here trying to figure out where numbers are. But like it's working. I'm not thinking about homework I haven't done or like the pile of dishes in the sink. Or my cat running around the house because I'm trying to figure out where number 209 is. There it is. Okay. 209. One of these has to be 210. But yeah, like I said, we're gonna do some more grab and go kits. I don't know when the next ones will be ready, but hopefully soonish. And those you can just come to the library, pick them up. They'll be, if you know where the YA section of books is, which I'm hoping you do because it's a great section of books, I think. I like to read YA books, so I'm a little biased. But yeah, there's a table. They'll either be at one of 2 tables near the YA section. So if you just walk towards the YA books, you'll see them and you can just grab them, take them home, and then you will be able to follow along with the video. Or if you're not able to watch the video live, we keep our stuff up on video on demand on Twitch for as long as it lets us do that for free. I don't know how long that is. Emily might know. Like a week or something, I think. And then we also export our stuff to YouTube. So, for example, if you're watching this and you're like, I want to make my own candle, but I can't do it today, or I don't have the stuff, or whatever, you can always watch them later. We try to, make our stuff as accessible as possible, and that includes being able to watch things on your own schedule. So, I can't find 226. That's where I'm at currently. Okay, wait, there it is. As soon as I say it out loud, then I find it. So maybe that's the key. I just need to announce which numbers I can't find. Okay, 229. 230's got to be around here somewhere. But yeah, we're coming up on 3 o'clock here. 10 days, Emily says, about the video on demand. So theoretically, for 10 days, you can watch this on Twitch. And you can watch it anytime on YouTube. Excuse me. Because it'll also be on YouTube at some point. But yeah, I want to thank y'all for tuning in today, or whatever day you happen to have tuned in on. Take a moment to thank yourself for taking this moment for self-care, for prioritizing self-care in a hectic time when there are lots of demands on your time and your attention. So, just sitting down to do a self-care activity is itself a form of self-love. And so, if you've sat down today or at any point to do this or any other activity that helps you to take care of yourself, that is self-love, and it's worthy of applause, and it's worthy of pride. And my air conditioning or heat or whatever that is just kicked on, so I'm going to talk a little louder so you can hear me over that. I really think that this is going to be the Statue of Liberty. I think that's what it's going to turn into. I'm pretty excited about it. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed our activities today. We'll be here every second Sunday of the month at 2 o'clock for Self-Care Sundays. And also on this channel we do some gaming, so just some regular video game streams, but also some quarantine game nights where kids/teens, if you're in 6th to 12th grade, you're welcome to join us to play some games in a group. Fun, socially distant social activity. So our regular stream time for now is Fridays at 4. It's going to be Fridays at 7 starting in December, and then every other Saturday at 7 we do our quarantine game nights. Or even older or younger, because we have no way of telling. That's true. If you're like, I'm 11 or I'm 19 or I'm in college, we don't know how old you are. Just come play video games with us. It'll be fun. At least I hope it'll be fun. I always have fun on those streams. So anyway, thank you for tuning in. And we'll be back on December something-th, whatever the second Sunday of December is. Emily says, I'm 29. It's true. She's 29, and she's going to be at quarantine game night. So you don't even have to be a teen. Just someone who likes video games and wants to play fun video games with others. So I'm going to go hang out with Reggie now, because clearly that's what he wants. And I hope all of you have a wonderful rest of your day, and see you soon.